edition of Standpoint. I'm Joke Lijadu. It's been an eventful week in the political, legal, and social spheres in Nigeria. The travels of Senate President Bukola Saraki will continue at the Code of Conduct Tribunal following an appeal court ruling that he answers for 3 charges of false asset declaration. Nigeria's anti-corruption war might have taken a dangerous twist following the latest gun attack on the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ibrahim Magu. And while an average Nigerian can barely afford 1 car and the expenses that come with it, a civil servant with the Federal Ministry of Power Works and Housing has been ordered by a court to forfeit 86 luxury cars amongst other property to the federal government. These issues, all bordering on corruption, are what we will be discussing on the show today. Well, with me in the studio to do justice to these issues is a lawyer, Barrister Adegboyega Kolade. You're welcome to the program. And I also have with me in the studio a politician and public affairs analyst, Mr. Adeboye Kalejaye. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, viewers.
All right, so let's look at these issues, and I'm going to start with the first one with Bukola Saraki, and of course the attendant issues that come with it. You know, we've had series of court cases, over time, and then we saw the court saying that lack of evidence is good enough for these charges to be dropped. 18 charges in all. And they were all dropped, at the high court level. Let me start with Barrister here. What would you say was missing, in those charges against Bukola Saraki?
Well, the major problem that prosecutors always have is with the preliminary investigations that are usually conducted by the, let me say, arrestors and including investigators. Most of the time, the evidence that is given to the prosecution to apply in the different criminal cases are not done in depth. They are just done superficially. And this gives the prosecution a lot of problems at the end of the day. But I believe this is a systemic problem. It's systemic in the sense that the security outfits, the police, the EFCC, DSS and the rest of them that are involved in these prosecutions ought to have known the flaws by now, the gaps, and they should have filled it up by ensuring that the prosecution is also part of the investigation, ab initio. So they carry each other along, and the prosecution team should guide the investigators as to what
and what to look out for.
Yes, in this particular allegation. If you don't do that, at the end of the day, what happened in the Saraki case, what happened in the numerous other cases
corruption
where
cases we've had in Nigeria,
parties have been, where the people alleged to have corrupted themselves got away with it. So the same thing will continue to repeat itself unending. And in this particular case, we thank God for the Court of Appeal. We thank God that there are appeal courts. If not, even the evidence, the proof of evidence that were available in this particular case, the tribunal claimed that they were not available. So, if not for the Court of Appeal that now said, why will you say that Saraki didn't make a statement? The statement he made which was exhibited and tendered, you know, in court, was there in the record, but the tribunal chose not to
acknowledge them.
Yes, and then, and not just that, there were other evidence that was given in the matter that the tribunal also
chose not to
discountenanced.
also.
So that's why I said thank God for the Court of Appeal. Counts 4, 5, and 6 in that particular trial that the tribunal decided to knock off had been reinstated by the Court of Appeal.
Then let me pause you there and ask Adeboye. Initially, a lot of people had said that, you know, the federal government was not serious about this case with Saraki. And so it didn't come to them as a shock when, you know, all the charges were dropped for lack of evidence. They found it, you know, hard to comprehend the fact that the federal government will go to court without having sufficient evidence against, you know, Saraki. Now, what do you make of this?
Yeah, sorry, let me just digress a bit and congratulate you on your recently won award.
Thank you very much.
That was quite splendid for you and for your organization.
Thank you.
Having said that, let me also say that, you see, to prosecute or to allege is the simplest thing that can happen.
That's true.
Allegation is cheap. Like say, talk is very cheap. So it's easier to allege. But then to prove is an onerous task for anybody, for any organization, for the police, and even for the trial judge. That's one aspect. And that explains why, you know, in making allegations, you must have your sufficient facts. It's easy for you to say, I have stolen, but you need to prove, were you there? At what time was the offense committed? Who were your witnesses? If you had witnesses, are those witnesses not biased? If they are not biased, you know, are they not intimidated even at the point of witnesses? If they are not intimidated, are they not, you know, are they not harassed? So those are one side. The second side is to say that in the essence of prosecution and investigation, are there no compromises? We need to ask that hypothetically. Are there no compromises? Can there be compromise or can there not be compromise? So those who investigate are humans. They are Nigerians. So in the process of investigation too, you must also be wary of what happens in the process of investigation. Who are the investigators? What is the integrity of those investigators? What is the integrity of the prosecutors? That becomes another second issue to look at. The third issue to also look at is to say that corruption is corruption, whether at whatever level. It has no coloration. And it can happen even at the point of accusation, in the process of accusation, in the process of trial, in all of these things. So those are three scenarios that must be understood for us to understand the dynamics of arriving at a judgment. And then they say that, yes, justice delayed is justice denied, but I am a believer in justice. I believe that it could be delayed. We could get justice at the end. Then I also give kudos to the press. Why is the Supreme Court now saying, oh, you, Saraki, you have 3 count cases to answer? It's because the press had not been silent about the issue. There are two rules that governs the law, the legal and the morality. So the morality of the issue in question of Saraki is in the public domain. And because it is in the public domain, the prosecutors, the investigators, the judges, everybody is also on trial. So that's why we must not keep quiet, because what touches all must be debated by all. It's about us as a nation, it's about us as a people, it's about our resources, it's about the fact that people are suffering in the midst of plenty. And so everybody must be accountable to his or her actions or inactions.
All right, now, Senator Saraki has said that, you know, he sees this ruling by the Court of Appeal as a vindication, you know, saying that, you know, counts 1 to 18, and it only has 3 to answer for. Now, would you say it is indeed a vindication?
Well, just like it is said, that it depends on the side of the coin that you take a look at, whether it's half a dozen or you say 6 or half a dozen, whatever you call it, depends on where you stand. Were it not for the appeal, Saraki will have walked free of all the charges, for instance. So the appellant, which is the EFCC or federal government, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, would definitely not agree that
it's a vindication.
Saraki has been vindicated. And believing that the Federal Republic of Nigeria is standing for we the people too, I doubt if we will believe in what he had said. I doubt if we would fall in line with what he said, because it's not a vindication until the trial is fully taken and determined. So the only problem we have now is, when do we get to that point? Because we know how long it took to get to this point. Several appeals were taken by Dr. Saraki during the process of the trial
to stop
at the
trial
tribunal.
itself,
So going up and down, going back and front. So I'm sure the same thing will happen even now. Of course, he is constitutionally permitted to appeal on decisions that had been taken by the Court of Appeal. So he had told the whole world that he will appeal. We know that the trend of the judiciary, especially as per corruption cases, the trend has changed. The game has changed, and there are new rules. There are new practice directions that had been issued, you know, with regards to corruption cases by the Chief Justice of the Federation, who had mandated the appeal court and other courts to be very speedy. So I believe that the Supreme Court decision may reach us in about 3 months or thereabout. So now we will know where this matter is headed. And of course, the Supreme Court is final. It's not final because it is final, but it is final because it is final. So
no doubt.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Adeboye, what you think about, you know, do you think Saraki is vindicated by this ruling?
Well, I deviate a bit from my colleagues to say that Saraki knows what he's saying. And like you said, he had 18 count charges and he's been scaled out to 3. It's a vindication, whether we like it or not. For him, as a person, he has lesser cases to answer to. So it means that he will have 3 orders to clear. But let me say this, I'm not an admirer of Saraki, of Dr. Bukola as a Senate president, but I salute his sagacity. Take it or leave it. He's been able to move on with this case. It was like as if Saraki would not survive the first 3 months as Senate president. But he's gone halfway the exercise. He's been able to stabilize the Senate in terms of both, you know, his party, APC, and the opposition. Even the various rattles and, you know, various indications that he would not survive in the early hours of his regime has been calmed down. He must have demonstrated some kind of leadership in the Senate. So I salute his sagacity. And I'm not giving out to say that when he said it's a victory for him, he's a man to watch. And when I say a man to watch, what I mean is this. You see, the Nigerian society is becoming so endemic in terms of, you know, perfection of corruption allegations. And what do people say? They say it's only the poor people who goes to jail for corruption practices because the poor person steals less. And so he doesn't have enough to throw around to prosecute, to pursue his prosecution. So those who are the big, in quotes, you know, thieves, have enough resources to play about. They have enough money to hire competent, you know, experienced lawyers. They have enough money, you know, to defend themselves, to even stall the legal process. So it also goes to say that our society is not yet there. It's not still the same law for the poor and the same law for the common man. It appears, you know, on the book that, yeah, it's the same law for the poor man, but in practice, it does not exist in real terms. It means that what Saraki is saying, what Dr. Bukola Saraki is saying is that, say, I'm going ahead, I'm going to the Supreme Court, and then God knows what happens at the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court now says that in 3 months or thereabouts earliest, to say, yes, you have a case to answer. Then you now go back to the Code of Conduct Bureau and start a new trial. Before you know it, he will end up with 4 years as Senate President. I think that Saraki is buying time. And before you know it, he will have succeeded in running a 4-year tenure. So, and then he can go on and face the charges even after. But we hope that, well, my optimism is that we can have this judgment, you know, where can have this case decided in record time of the 4-year tenure of the Senate President, so that we can set a record that really we are really ready to fight corruption.
Now let's look at the charges. Charges 4, 5, and I think 6 are the ones that, you know, he has to answer for now. That's true. Now, these are false asset declaration charges, no doubt.
That's true.
And the border on his tenure as ex-governor of Kwara State before, you know, becoming senator. Let me ask you what you think the federal government, you know, council should be doing differently now, seeing that, you know, in the first phase of this trial, it was a case of lack of evidence. What should they be doing differently now?
Well, the advantage that the state as prosecution has is the fact that they can always continue their investigation. If there are new facts that comes up, if there are new documents or evidence that relates to the allegation that has been made, they can always bring it up. That is the difference, you know, in this situation. And I expect Rotimi Jacobs had been handling the matter, and he's a very experienced criminal prosecutor. And I believe that is why this case has survived till this extent, because he had to face over 10 senior advocates and over 100 lawyers from those chambers that had to make input into whatever you see in court. So, and of course that tells you the volume of money that the accused person has at his disposal to thwart whatever effort the prosecution team is making. So the prosecution team is not averse, it's not, you know, unaware of all the antics, the gimmicks, and everything that is going on. And one thing I know is that there is a lot of training and, you know, skill that the prosecution, the government prosecution, especially at the federal level, has. I've had the opportunity of, you know, being given training in terms of prosecution, you know, courtesy of the Federal Ministry of Justice, and I know that they will be doing a lot too to ensure that all loopholes that they still can amend is blocked.
Amended.
And
Adeboye, what do you think? What should they be doing differently?
I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not also unaware of the fact that you cannot plead new evidences in the Supreme Court. So, what new evidence would they be presented? Is a Supreme Court case, and what you have on appeal would go on to the Supreme Court. I'm not aware whether you can plead new investigation, whatever. But the most important thing is to say that whether there are new investigations or not, can they sustain? You know that even in Supreme Court, you don't go there with witnesses. You don't go there to, so things are just based on, I'm not a lawyer, excuse me, but also the little I have my pseudo-law sense and the various little courses I've done in law because of my educational career tells me that the Supreme Court will judge exactly with what is presented to it. And so if that is the case, I do not see anything so fantastically new. What the Supreme Court should be looking at is that upholding or throwing away the appeal court judgment based on, you know, the authentication of what the Supreme Court has done, or what the appeal court has done. So, but by and large, what is important to us as Nigeria is to say that we see things in its nakedness. We see corruption in its nakedness, but then we cannot really, you know, get corruption, you know, cases prosecuted to its fullest to make corporates, you know, to make them, you know, answer to the call of what they have been alleged of. I would also, we're still in the public court, that's why we're here this afternoon, looking at it. So to say that the Supreme Court too, in their judgment, the whole world is watching, Nigerians are watching, we're all waiting to see where this will arrive at. But saying that, as it may, we're not saying that those who are not guilty must be, you know, adjudged to be guilty. We're looking at fairness in terms of judgment, and then we will all live to see, you know, the outcome of, because if anybody gets away with all of these, it's because also Supreme Court judgment have precedences that are citable in law, and so it becomes citable in future to say, you know, so if this goes away, then other escapists will also follow the line. But if it also goes the other way, people will have evidences to try, you know, people who are in corrupt cases. So, head or tail, the nation is waiting.
All right, we'll go on a short break now. When we come back, the discussion continues. Stay with us. Welcome back. We have been looking at corruption and the fight against corruption. Well, I have with me, and still have with me in the studio, lawyer Adeboyega Kolade and public affairs analyst Adeboye Kalejaye. Now let's talk about the gun attack on Ibrahim Magu's farmhouse. As we all know, Magu is the man saddled with the responsibility of exposing corrupt elements in our society. Is this a random attack by criminal elements, or does this reek of a calculated attack meant to truncate the anti-graft war? Let me ask you what you think. Adeboye, do you think that, you know, this could just be, this is the second one. Is this just a random attack?
See, it's Magu. And so it will attract the greatest public attention that it should attract, because he's a man that is sitting at the helm of affairs of prosecuting, you know, the corruption, law of Nigeria, or corruption cases. But that notwithstanding, is to say is a two-edged thing. Is to say that it could be anybody's farm. The attack, Falaye was attacked in his family, and then, you know, so that we've seen so many cases. We've seen the cases of rustlers who are attacking people on their various routes. So you see that it's two ways. One, we could look at it from a response from those who are criminally minded, who think that they can do some kind of a distraction for Magu. But then, what does a farm mean to a Magu? It could mean a whole lot, but then that's not...
But considering the fact that one of the police guard there was killed.
Yes, I agree. But what I'm saying is that it's not a direct attack on Magu. So you could look at it from a response from the criminal elements trying to respond and, you know, put some blockages and distractions. And Magu's attention is focused towards fighting corruption. That I agree. But then I'm also saying that it could have happened to any Nigerians. It happened to a lot of people, and it doesn't attract so much public comments and whatever. So for me, it's a two-way thing. But whichever way it is it right that a society that is governed by law, by rules and regulations, people just act with impunity? It still talks about a lot about our security, to say that, you know, governance is all about one principal factor, which is the safety of lives and properties. So if lives and properties are not safe in this country, then it's a call to question. So what I'm saying is that Magu is lucky he had policemen guiding his farmyard. How many people have policemen guiding their farmyard? So that in itself is an abuse. That in itself is an abuse to look at, to say that police were guiding Magu's farmyard. So why didn't they come and guide my own farmyard? So in itself is an abuse. And that's why the Magu case has been on and on. Magu is a man with 9 lives. Ever since he's been appointed as acting henchman at that field, he's been facing a lot of challenge. Even they've had some security reports of the DSS, trying to implicate him and say he's also a corrupt person. But then the president is sticking to his gun and say, this is the man I want. And Nigerians can see that genuinely, Magu is really very sincere to a greater extent in fighting the corruption, cases in Nigeria. So whether you like it or not, you can't wish away that Magu is doing a good job in that place. But then it doesn't take away his saintship, that whether he's a saint or whatever. So for me, it's a thing to watch to ensure that it's not only the farmland that should be more protected now. The Magu himself, as a man at the helm of affairs, must have adequate protection in terms of security. For God forbid that you can bring down #1 man who is fighting corruption, then it means that the whole society is not. So me, for Magu, there must be adequate protection, and for Nigerians alike, there must also be adequate protection.
Let me ask you, do you find it a coincidence that, this is coming, just after the appeal court ruling saying that Saraki has 3 more charges to answer to? Do you find it, a coincidence?
Well, I take it to be a coincidence. I take it to be a coincidence. Not that I take anything beyond an average Nigerian politician. I can't take anything, beyond them. But I believe that this is just a coincidence. Practically because of the success, I guess, they are making of their constitutional task. It is because of that that they have attracted so much fight back. Corruption is fighting back so virulently that if the security around EFCC as a body and the staff, much more so the head of the organ, if the security is not properly beefed up, especially now that it is evident that the leadership of DSS and some other security organizations are averse to the leadership of EFCC, it is so clear that there is a security war. There's the spirit, the core that used to exist.
The synergy that it should be in that,
yes,
is lost.
It's lost. And it's very clear that those who are supposed to aid the work of the other have done a lot to undermine but I don't blame them. It is the president of the Federal Republic that we should hold responsible for the discord that exists between but I still believe that the attack is a mere coincidence.
All right, let's take this call. Ibrahim is joining us from Zamfara. Thanks for joining us, Ibrahim.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for giving opportunity to communicate with these people.
Ibrahim.
Thank you, Fadan.
Yeah, go ahead, make your contribution.
First of all, I want to congratulate the participant of this program.
Thank you.
Actually, I need to call the attention of security agency. I need to call attention.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
This agency, just to ensure they protect Ibrahim Magu properly, because the enemies of this country who stole the whole Nigerian money, they went to and always to eliminate Ibrahim Magu and his group who are willing or zeal to ensure Nigerian is properly country.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ibrahim. Now, let me ask you, do you see this, attack, deterring the war against corruption? Do you see Ibrahim Magu taking a step back to consider his safety and security of his life and property, and then, just take a back step, as to this war?
No, I don't see so. I don't see. That would be myopic. That would be very, very unprofessional. A man of Magu's caliber will not give in to this, mere diversions. I see him as getting more resolute and quite much more optimistic and quite much more determined to fight the corruption war. You see, you need to also go back to the background check on Magu as a police officer and see how he has risen, and his credentials speaks volume. That's the truth. Have done a bit of research on who Magu is, what is his pedigree, and then what is he noted for. So for me, I do not see, he's not a cowardly-minded personality. He's a personality that demonstrates resilience. He's a personality that demonstrates courage, even in very intimidating conditions. He has done a lot of investigation for the EFCC even before he became the headsman. So I do not see it as a kind of distraction. I see it as kind to, that
something that will spur him.
Will spur him to more action. Having said that, it's not to say that he's not human. He's also human. And then, as men, even sometimes when we face challenging situations, those who draw our ears back are not ourselves. They are our spouses. They are our immediate families who want to tell us that, look, we need you to leave. We don't need you to die on this job. How many people have died for this country?
All right, let me hold your thought there. Yeah. Let's take Emmanuel from Kaduna. Thanks for joining us, Emmanuel.
Good afternoon, Ma.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Go ahead, make your contribution.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I really want to comment on this EFCC Magu thing.
Okay.
The truth is that, hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. The truth is that ever since EFCC stepped up with their war on corruption, I must comment that they've been doing well. That's the truth. They've been doing well. If somebody is doing something good, we should commend him, at least, for him to step up. And the issue of Saraki, I think what the government should do is really look into this Saraki issue. Because like the lawyer rightly said, he said he don't see it as a coincidence, but somehow I'm seeing it as a coincidence. Because the truth is that they will do everything to deter that man from fighting corruption he's fighting. Sorry, financial corruption that he's fighting. They'll do everything within their power to make sure that it does not continue. Because if you look at every day you're hearing him taking money from Ikoyi, take money from Abuja, take money from this. The man, this has never happened before. And one thing we also want to see is we want to see people being sentenced to prison for this money they are seeking. We've not seen anybody being sentenced to prison. We are always seeing them picking money, but we don't see them doing anything. There's nobody that will say, okay, this person is in prison because this person was found, he's the owner of this money. So this person.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You were saying something?
Yes, what I'm saying is that to say that there could be some diversions, as humans, but then, I've said, those who get you diverted from your main focus are your immediate relatives, are your friends, are your spouses, who will keep reminding you of the fact that it's not worth dying for.
You have to stay alive.
You have to stay alive. But the fact of the case is that, that comes even to a layman who is not, undergoing such challenging situations. So, and for every man, the way you go back is already predetermined. So whether you're going to fight in a battle, or you're going to even die sleeping in your sleep, or you're going to fight, die, traveling on the road, it doesn't matter to God Almighty. Everybody that I've read about, particularly biblically, all the apostles died mysteriously, those who were hanged, those who were stoned. So to God, it doesn't really matter what kind of death you go, die off. But what is important is what are you going to be known for?
What impact?
What
would you have
impact
made?
will, so if you die like a chicken, nobody remembers you. So yeah, they may say Nigeria is not worth dying for, but I think that if you take a job, you must take it with all the challenges that it takes. And whatever it comes with it, so be it. That's your own path to glory.
Adegboyega, do you think this would, deter the war against corruption?
Definitely no. Apart from the fact that Ibrahim had said so clearly, that this will be
a do-or-die affair.
Is a do-or-die, and that he cannot be deterred by whatever arm-twisting effort is being made by the corrupt, who have formed a coalition, to truncate the war. I'm sure the man is stubborn enough for the job. Because a man who is not stubborn, who is not determined, who is not firm in what he believes in, will give up like a chicken. I've met him before while he was still here in Lagos. When he was still a far lower officer. And I know that he's somebody who can even be very overzealous in doing his job. He's committed. Even if he's doing the wrong thing, he believes that if he believes that that is the right thing to do, nobody will deter him.
Let's take Ibrahim from Kwara. Thanks for joining us, Ibrahim.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, if you want to contribute to your program.
All right, go ahead.
First and foremost, I want to commend you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We can hear you.
Okay, I want to first appreciate you, the anchor of the program.
Thank you very much.
For your job well done.
Thank you.
That's all.
Then secondly, my contribution go to the politician and political analyst that said is there abuse for attaching a policeman to Magu?
He actually said in his farmhouse.
Yeah, that says an abuse to attach a policeman to
his farmhouse. All right, we lost the call.
Yes. Well, I also wanted to make reference to the comment of my colleague here. Somebody of the status of Ibrahim Magu, and somebody who is being trailed, somebody who has had attempts on his life severally, I don't think it is correct to say that it is corrupt to protect him, to protect his property. And of course, that is his farm. Of course, he has the right to be there on his farm, to know what goes on there. Why will he not be protected? Why will there be no provision for his security in his house, on his farm, in the air, in the under the sea, wherever he may be? He's a national and international asset that the country should spend every necessary fund to guard and protect. And these are some of the reasons why most of the people who are supposed to come out and join in waging this war are weary, because many people had been wasted in battles like this, especially in anti-corruption. So we remember about a month or so ago, one of the EFCC officers that carried out investigation on some of these cases in Port Harcourt was wasted. Yes, so, and it will be the greatest shame to this country and to the anti-corruption war if anything untoward happens to Magu, the corrupt will have succeeded, the corrupt will rejoice, and they will smile at everyone who appears to be their enemy. So, I don't think the Magu can be deterred. I don't think the people around him are ready to
give up
give up. And I can tell you, there are so many people also within the system that had been thrown up to join him in this battle, because it's not a one-man war. It's not a one-man riot squad. It cannot be a success. Just like people refer to our president as a very, straight man. He's not corrupt. I always refer them to the fact that the vice president, don't just say the president is the only upright man. Thank God we also have a vice president in place who, known to some of us that we have worked with, who has very high level of integrity, who is very committed to ensure that the corruption war is won, who will do anything to, not just from his religious point of view, but as a way of life, to ensure that the corrupt are brought to book. So it's a total war that nothing must be allowed to deter those who are waging the war, those who are leading the war. There are so many other people too, like I have said, like was told to Elijah, that there are many other people that had not, their heads had not been shaven, who are even greater than you, that are prepared for this war, So I believe that as much as the government is putting in energy and effort to push this war, there's still a lot to be done. There's also still a lot to be done.
And Nigerians should give Ibrahim Magu the necessary support to win this war.
Definitely.
All right, now moving on to another corruption issue now. Someone once said to me that the most corrupt individuals in Nigeria are civil servants, not even politicians. He said even politicians cannot steal public funds without conniving with civil servants. In his words, civil servants show their bosses how to steal public funds. A certain Ibrahim Tumza, a civil servant with the Federal Ministry of Power Works and Housing, was ordered to forfeit 86 luxury cars, 4 houses, a quarry, and 8 containers to the federal government. Tumza is said to be the Director of Finance and Accounts in the ministry. How does one begin to even comprehend this level of corruption? 86 cars to one person. How would you describe this?
Luxury cars.
Luxury cars.
It's madness. And it's crazy. And it still shows who we are as black people. It is sad that we acquire what we don't even need. It's sad that we always forget that the end of the life itself is about 6 feet. Who brings man to equality and equal equation before Almighty God? It's a characterization of the indebtedness of the corruption in the public service. And I tell you, there has been so much attention to the politicians. And like that, analysis said, no politician can steal money without the cooperation of the public servants. That is not to say that all public servants are also corrupt, because we must cipher our positions and don't say everyone
put everybody in the same
jacket. But having said that, what we're seeing is to show that there must be more searchlights within our public servants. We must look at their living standard. We must look at some public servants have been in one position for so many years unchanged. give it to Governor Akin remember they have seen him change his permanent secretary so frequently. And of recent, I was asking myself, I've seen some PAMSEC move 3-4 times, not because they are corrupt, but maybe because of his in-depth knowledge of the public service. So that when you are cooking something before it becomes, ready to eat,
you've moved to another ministry.
But that is not in the federal system. The federal system
keeps them there.
Keeps them there perpetually because they are called permanent secretaries or
so
whatever. They are permanent there. So it must also show that politicians have been so busy looking at the problems. So the politicians are the dreamers. They are the ones who dream dreams. And they are always much more concerned about pursuing the actualization of the dreams for which they have promised the people. And so they have also paid less attention to the public service servants who are also under their control. So it means also that governors, chairmen, presidents, and everybody that governs society must continue to take a look. The appointment of heads of service, whether at the federal or the state.
Sorry, let me just take this call, sorry. Matthew is calling us from Abuja. Thanks for joining us, Matthew.
Thank you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Make a contribution.
Yeah, I think I want to appreciate your program this afternoon. I think, to my own view, our government is not serious to fight corruption. Because you can agree with me that there are cases, many, most especially the suspended secretary to the federal government. There are many cases, the people under this government, that they just cover this, they don't want to bring the case out. What stops the agencies to bring into action, for investigate? What stops other security agencies to investigate it? So you see that the trial of here or the corruption cases is selective. Because from all indication, we expect that Papa will come with action, that the body language himself will have impact on whoever mounts any offices in Nigeria. By now, we have expected that everybody will know that, yes, corruption is real.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, like I was saying, it means that we need to do much searchlighting into the living standards of our public servants. But that notwithstanding, it's also to note too that the public service as we have it today is sought in a manner that the appointment of heads of heads of service, whether at the federal and the state, must also be scrutinized, because while the various heads of government in that president, governors are fighting and trying to actualize their dreams, it is also part of the responsibility of the heads of service to also, do much more work on the public servants that are under their control. It also says that, people must be appointed and, based on their integrity and their profound professional, efficiency on their desk. So having said that, the attitude, as we have seen, is condemnable, but I must also say that we as Nigerians will also have a part to play. Nobody, would single-handedly dictate all corrupt cases. What we have in a society like ours is that people are docile, people are not concerned about those who even, rob them of their resources. So government, security agent needs information. So you must also be able to give information and make it readily available. That notwithstanding the fact that some information you give to some security agencies, they expose you, and but then there are other channels by which we can, make our views known. The whistleblowers thing is also on for us to be able to really expose corrupt Nigerians. Government can't prosecute people when they don't have tip-offs, when they don't have, evidences to show that this person is corrupt. And the duty of government is not continue to look into the house of everybody and continue to where you sleep or where you don't wake up. So we must be our neighbors' keepers. Nigerians must continue to be part of this democracy. We must be active. We must be, very, very agile in terms of our role as citizens of this country.
All right, Adegboyega, let me ask you, as we round off, is it enough to just forfeit, these materials? What do you think we should be seeing, aside this forfeiture?
Well, like I have said earlier, there are still much that is desired to be done in the battle against corruption. It's not enough to just forfeit the properties. Those who are involved, those who are found guilty or wanting, must go to jail or must be punished adequately for whatever infractions might have been committed. The civil servants that we are talking about, for some of us who are in the private sector, we call them evil servants. Yes, evil servants, because a good number of them are just waiting for the opportunity to loot, to steal. So, and like we have seen, what has been tagged to Tumsa is just a tip of the iceberg. You see the estates all over Abuja, all over Nigeria. I can tell you, if you go deep into investigating them, this is not expository like cars, for instance, but properties,
so
landed properties that are quiet, the ownership is not revealed, and these things, the certificate of occupancy or title documents are done in other names, not linked to the civil servants. The properties, estates are numerous that are linked to these people. And unlike what my brother here said, the standard of living of some of them are poorer than yours and mine, because
just
some
so that
of them,
you don't find out that they are into this.
Yes, they live a low life to ensure that they don't reveal who they really are. They are perfect in their ways. They have learned from their masters. They teach the politicians. They teach the private sector. How to steal, how to, enter into the public till and take it, because they, as evil servants, cannot, finds it difficult, finds no particular leverage to enter the till. It is people that they use.
Well, so indeed, the war against corruption should be taken more seriously. That's all we can take on the show today. Thank you for watching, but remember you can watch a repeat of the show tomorrow by 7 a.m. on the same channel. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. And thank you, viewers, for watching. I'm Joke Lijadu. We'll see you again. Bye.
The pleasure is mine.